In the year 2019, on the 24th of December, a 25-year-old hairstylist named Kevin Bacon was chatting with another man on the dating app called Grindr. After building a little trust, Kevin left his friend's place by 5:20 p.m. to meet his date. But when Kevin didn't show up for Christmas breakfast the next day, his family became worried. They thought he had harmed himself because he was going through a rough patch at that time and had attempted taking his own life. They contacted the police and a search began. The search for Kevin lasted for 3 days until the police eventually found his car in front of a local store at Clayton Township. In his car were his phone, wallet, and clothes. The police went through his phone, and that was how they got to know about Mark Latunski, the Grindr date Kevin was meeting up with. The chat between Kelvin and Latunski led the police to a house in Bennington Township, where a 51-year-old Mark Latunski lived. On the 28th of December, the police were at Latunski's place to conduct a search. Latunski was only wearing a brown leather skirt without a shirt. It turned out Latunski was spending the Christmas with his husband, Jamie Arnold, and Arnold's friends whom he had invited over. The police searched Latunski's house, and after what seemed like a fruitless search, they were able to find Kevin in what they described as a secret room that wasn't immediately visible. Kevin's body was found hanging from the ceiling with some of his body parts missing. He had been stabbed at the back of the neck and slashed in the throat too. Latunski had also mutilated and eaten Kevin's testicles. Latunski was arrested for questioning, and this is what he had to say to the police. He said he and Kevin had met on the dating app and agreed to meet in a public place, the exact place where Kevin's car was found. He claimed Kevin had this fantasy he wanted to try out, so they decided to act it. Kevin stripped naked, put on earmuffs, a blindfold, then wrist and ankle restraints before they headed to Latunski's house, where Latunski claimed they had consensual sex, and then Kevin confided in him about his failed suicidal attempts. According to Latunski, Kelvin asked for his help with suicide mission, and they sorted out for the least painful ways to end Kevin's life. And then they settled for a stab at the back of the neck. But in the process of stabbing Kevin at the back of his neck, he made some unusual noise, and in order not to attract attention, Latunski slit Kevin's throat. Latunski's acclaimed suicide aid came with a condition, and the condition was that Latunski would utilize Kevin's body after he died. After killing Kevin, Latunski used his blood to fertilize the plants outside his house, and as part of the same agreement, Latunski will use Kevin's bone meal to plant tulip, his intestines to grow chestnuts, and will use his muscles to make human meat jerky. One thing Latunski's story was lacking was consistency, as the chat between him and Kevin suggested otherwise. The chat between Latunski and his victim revealed that the victim had asked for reassurance that she would be safe during their encounter. There was no place that hinted that the victim wanted to be hurt, not to mention being eaten, with his body parts and blood used for some psychotic fetishes. It also turned out that Kevin wasn't Latunski's only victim. He had two others, but they didn't suffer to Kevin's extent. On the 10th of October, a man named James Carlson made a call to 911 and said he was being kidnapped by a man. He told the operator that his kidnapper had tied him up, and he only managed to escape by freeing himself with the aid of a knife nearby, which he used to cut through the leather strap he was bounded with. He was lucky enough to steal Latunski's car and flee for his life. James never pressed a charge until he heard of Kevin's misfortune. On the 25th of November, barely a month after the previous call to 911 by James Carlson, another man, 29 years old, called 911 panicking. This particular incident had an eyewitness, that's Latunski's neighbor, Mr. Michael Park. Mr. Park said he saw a man in leather skirt in front of his yard, covered in blood, knocking on his door. He claimed the man was holding onto him while crying for help. In Mr. Park's words, this gentleman was grasping my arm with deathly fear, screaming, "Help me, help me, keep him away, he wants to hurt me, he wants to hurt me." Michigan State Police arrived and took the bleeding man away, And when confronted why he was chasing the man, Latunski claimed the bleeding man was running away with his leather skirt worth $300. In a divorce filing by his ex-wife Emily Latunski, Latunski is said to have a very long history with mental health. He was diagnosed in 2010 and 2012 with severe recurrent and chronic depression with psychotic features. Latunski's condition can be treated with medication, but he is said to have a knack for not taking his medication, and when he doesn't, he will stay late into the night watching horror films and gruesome murder, talk to himself, threaten to get rid of his children's animal, claim their son isn't his, and fail to shower or even shave. Emily said he has kidnapped his own children by failing to follow custody plans, kept her and the children from leaving the house, and all sorts of ridiculous things. He had once accused her and her brother of planning to kill him through poisoning. At some point, he introduced himself as William Gregory to the police and claimed he killed Mark Latunski with a stroke of a pen. Regarding Latunski's punishment, he was found mentally unstable to stand for trial, but this was reverted on the 11th of May 2020. Latunski's lawyer, Douglas Corwin, tried to add a charge of euthanasia, that is, assisted suicide instead of murder, but fortunately, the judge denied this request. For now, we can't give a final say regarding the jury's verdict on Latunski, but we hope he gets what he deserves and will update you guys once we find out. For more videos like this, do not forget to subscribe, like, leave a comment, and share with friends. Thanks for sticking around.
While disturbing revelations hurt the family, they say this is not how they want people to remember their son.
He was a good person. He was compassionate. He cared for the people he met. He cared for the people he worked with.
And he loved everybody.
And he loved everyone
who he came in contact with and everything.
The family says the outpouring of support from everyone has been tremendous. Today they expressed their gratitude for the prayers, donations, and memories shared.
And Kevin's family is also thanking the community for painting this block behind me in his honor.
The block sits on 12th Street and Hammerberg Road in Flint. Police say Kevin met Latunski on a dating app. Kevin's family hopes that this tragedy is a wake-up call to people that meet strangers online.
When you use these apps, just let other people know who you're meeting and where you're going to be at.
So you have somebody.
So you have a safety net behind you.